Now, don't get nervous, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 p.m. on Monday, June the 6th, and we're calling to order the Real Property Committee meeting. And we'd like to acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. First order of business, it would be to acknowledge that all of our committee members are here. So no need for a roll call on that, I don't think. And second order of business, approval of previous meetings minutes from May the 9th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, or any other revisions, discussion, anything? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Citizens' comments, do we have any?
I think you,
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
you
I
ran
think-
out of
Yeah,
comments.
we don't have any citizens' comments. Marina tenant comments, we have none of the Marina tenants here today. Number 5, old business, update on proposed public dock and green space at the Isle of Palms Marina. And I'll turn things over to Douglas Carr to speak to this item.
Yeah, so we are currently waiting for pricing from ATM on design work for the public dock. That's with them. We're expecting it shortly. So that's it for the public dock. On the green space, we are actively working with Davis and Floyd, and we're going to talk a little bit about what they've been working on in terms of the bulkhead there. That's been a question mark from them on their work. We're also working through details on the actual layout of that park. You have one in your packet. I do think that there's some issues with the configuration there of those kind of landscaping bulbs that are sticking out into the parking area. We don't anticipate those to be there. There's also an issue with the 4 spaces from what I still call the employee lot coming across the fence. So there's still some work to be sorted through there, but they are actively working with us, and we're getting that ironed out. We had a call with them Friday. They indicate that even with the work that they need to do still in the bulkhead, the design work there, that they feel like we are hopefully in good shape to get this done before the end of the calendar year. So that was, this is a place that was in a lot of flux with the tenants there. So we missed basically this season. Now, of course, the parking lot is very full, very active. We wouldn't want to be doing construction there now. So we've got this project hopefully lined up to be done in the fall and winter coming up.
So, question. So the bump out areas, the landscaping, mainly because it takes away from parking, I'm
Right.
assuming.
Right. Yeah, that's the issues with those.
I think you can get rid of those and it still look really good.
Yeah, they almost look, almost feel like it might look cleaner without that anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think-
The handicap spaces moved. Why
So
was that?
yeah, there's a little bit of a miscommunication about the handicap spaces. They were shown in the area of the 20-foot strip initially,
Mhm.
and you can kind of see where a car is pulled up underneath what's now shown as the 20-foot strip. It's got 2 trees on it. We asked that they be moved to basically where that first bump out is, where the bump out, the smaller of the 2 bump outs. So the handicap spaces should be moved up to the location of that bump out. So
Oh,
there's still a little bit of a.
Is that just below
miscommunication.
the flagpole area?
Yes. You see the white car that's superimposed?
Right.
Yeah.
That white car would be shifted into the area of the bump outs.
Mhm.
Basically, that bump out would be 2 handicap spaces.
like the one that's like a teardrop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I thought we had decided that we weren't going to do much if any landscaping anyway. Or-
Well,
Or maybe on one
That's
side.
been a little bit of a moving target.
Uh-huh.
We at least, we think that we heard that we wanted to do the landscaping, but reduced. So we took that to mean this 20-foot strip that's along what I call the employee lot, and then a short section there to the right of the flagpole to just give some high ground area. But
Yeah, because you're not really taking anything for this. Like that area right now is just kind of scrubland, right?
right.
Like useless space.
And I think we wanted it to connect to that timber. I mean, a part of what would be happening here is that timber walkway. I mean, currently there's a little tiny, basically the cap to a bulkhead. It's like 2 feet wide. That's going to be widened to be 6 feet wide. And that would create a connection between these parking spaces, our community dock, and then the next dock down, and then ultimately to the restaurant. So the other part of this puzzle that had not been identified and finalized, and it probably still hasn't been, but there has been the talk of the community dock not having, currently there's a dog leg in it. There's a little bit of a bend.
Mhm.
The concepts that Kirby has worked on have shown the dock being a straight run going straight out. So that straight run obviously changes where the dock would be landing on the bulkhead, which would have the effect of potentially changing the layout of this green space. So we have also asked that Davis and Floyd have a meeting with ATM on which of those is a better layout, a straight dock, and shifting kind of that area where it lands on the highland, or continue with the crooked, the bend in the dock and have it landing in the same place, which would be basically at the end of the flagpole. So the two are intended to relate to each other, the landing of the dock and the flagpole, but we've talked about it being different ways. So we need to get that ironed out with both our designers kind of in the same room and figure out which of those is a better layout.
I
So,
mean, Mr. Chairman, I mean, and I guess it comes down to budget and money, but the parking lot is so stark down there. So any landscaping that we could add, I would support.
How many parking spaces are we talking about that the landscaping takes up?
so on
Katie's
our side, we think it's about 4
Uh-huh.
to have the flagpole, because it really right now, yeah, we think it's 4. But I can confirm that.
No, Kevin, I agree. I mean, it is stark down there. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think we need to do something. I just would personally hate to see us take away from parking down there.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Davis and Floyd can figure that out.
Right.
They haven't given any kind of preliminary budget
Cost,
number
no.
on this.
No,
rendering.
and part of their next step is to work with a landscape installer, particularly on this detail of the seawall, how that's going to connect to the existing seawall. So that's part of what they're working on, is cost estimating for all of it.
The picnic table and park benches that's an interesting design. I've never seen anything quite like that.
So those are at the Daniel Island Park.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I think they were seen as kind of a nice, different design.
I think they look cool.
Rusty, you're not bowled over with their design?
No, I just
You like it?
interesting.
Yeah.
The swing
So they're-
bench, the swing bench looks great.
Those are made, they're made by a local artisan.
Uh-huh.
So we gave that to Davis and Floyd as kind of a starting point for the furnishings.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
No.
that's for sure. All right. Any other questions? So
We're pushing ahead. I mean, it's a lot of it's in flux just because, it's being designed and worked out right now, but we are, and we can go ahead and talk about they're basically tied together.
yeah, let's
Item 6. Do you
let's
Yeah.
go
want
to item 6.
Okay.
We'll go, well, that's new business, and that's discussion of the structural assessment report of the timber bulkhead at the Isle of Palms Marina along the Intercoastal Waterway. And this report was performed by Davis and Floyd also. So let's just segue to that.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch the ADA beach thing first, just so we don't forget about it, or you want to go back to that?
Well, yeah, I can give we can do that.
Yeah, yes.
I'll
that's
give
good.
I don't have a lot to
I was gonna
update
say
there.
that should be,
Okay.
Yeah, other than we have the RFP ready to release on the beach access at 34A. That's the one that we've identified as the next project. We've been given an award by a grant from the Charleston County Greenbelt Fund. We do have a design. That one also needs just a couple of minor modifications before it goes out. But that should really be out on the streets for bidding probably before the end of this week. So we're right there for getting bids. I think they'll be out to bid for a month. So it will probably actually be at your July workshop, the pricing on that project. So we're ready to go with 34A. Robert, as you all know, is constantly working on the beach paths at 42nd and here most recently at 9th. He stays busy with trying to keep Moby Mat straight. So that's an ongoing effort. But really in terms of new work, 34A is just about ready to get pricing back and go to work on that one.
And that would be a fall project also, right?
Yes.
40 seconds doing amazingly well. I mean, we had that storm from yesterday didn't even get touched, so.
Yeah, there have
It's still
been,
like perfectly flat and.
that one's got, that one's had sand blow onto it. We've actually had the water, the high tide did
Yeah.
come up over the very end of it at least once, maybe a couple of times. It's performed pretty well, though. It's part of that has been allowing the Public Works Department and our landscape contractor who has been setting those out, give them an opportunity to watch what level of maintenance they've needed. Luckily, that one seems to have been performing pretty well. So we feel good that if they do well, we'll be able to extend more out that far in the future. So that, as you'll recall, is the first one that we've extended out to the high tide line. We have permission to extend 3 more out. If they continue to behave well, we'll extend those 3 out. And then ultimately at 34A, we'd have to get another permit. But the thought is that we would do it at that location too.
Right. Okay.
So we feel good about what we've seen so far.
Other than its ongoing maintenance involved,
Yeah, but it's not as bad as we
as you thought.
thought it could be.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay, good update on that. So let's move on to the new business we just announced. This is regarding the timber bulkhead.
So high level kind of synopsis is that they felt like the bulkhead looked generally okay for its age. They weren't terribly concerned about, it falling down or not being useful here in the near future. But they were not able to, and they believe that it's not tied back. There's no kind of dead men tying it back into the earth, basically. So that's a concern. Also, we had tasked them with seeing whether or not we could put a new wider decking over the top of it. And they basically said that the solutions, it would be one solution for both of those problems. So they're going to come up, they're going to give us first a proposal to develop a plan that would create a substructure for us to be able to attach this wider decking to connect our community dock to the green space to the back of the restaurant. It would also at the same time be giving that structure that would hold the seawall back and tie it better down to tie it into the earth better. So we're waiting. They're going to give us a proposal. We don't expect that to be too terribly expensive. And they should have a proposal back to us in the next 10 days or so. If that's a low enough threshold that we can just approve it, we will, to keep that work going and progressing. So I think you have the entire report in your packet, but that's, kind of the end of the day, it's fairly minor problems with what's existing. But the big next hurdle is this retrofit that would allow us to attach a deck to it.
What, do we know the age of this bulkhead?
I think they estimated it right at 30 years old.
Yeah,
And
they said something about it looking like it was sometime in the 90s.
yeah, I missed it. And we've not done any repairs at
No.
all to this,
No,
or no previous assessments either.
that's correct. As far as I know, we have not. They did talk a little bit about the fact that this one doesn't have the high tide just kind of bashing into it to the extent that the other one did. So it stood to reason that it's aged a little bit better than the other one.
It's got a lot of marsh in front of it.
Yeah, a lot of marsh to kind of dissipate the energy from boats and limited water up against it. I think it's got to be, an hour or so right at high tide that it's in the water.
I was kind of surprised that the nailer boards are number 2 yellow pine, not treated, and they've lasted that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think
Yeah.
so.
So I have to make the assumption that the pylons and the sheathing boards, the whalers, all of that is marine treated.
It has to be. Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
We don't know. Sorry.
I know, go
Sorry.
ahead.
We don't have any idea how deep those pylons are. Did they make comment about that in there? I know they were looking at loads and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but
I don't think they know. I'm almost positive that they don't know. They have indicated that they would like to have a little bit more geotechnical information, which Kirby has also requested for the community dock. So we do think we're going to have, between the two of them, an analysis of the subsurface.
Douglas, the decking's going to be what, 5 feet wide? Is that correct?
I thought it was 6, might be 5.
Oh, 6.
yeah, I thought it was 6 too, because they recommend a rail too.
Right.
Mhm.
So by the time you put the rail, you probably have a net 5.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. It was my recollection that it was going to be a 6-foot wide walkway.
Okay.
The spacing of the rails is 5 feet. I think that's 5.
So next steps is to sort of cost all this out.
So, well, we're gonna first get the cost to just do the design. And they're gonna work as part of their design. They're gonna work with a marine contractor to come up with the most cost-effective design for retrofitting the wall and for creating this guardrail. It's gonna be a big part of it is coming up with a design to guard against the public falling off into the marsh.
And I know publicly there were some inquiries about some of the other things that was noticed on the plan here, and you're in the process of responding to that as well.
Yes,
Right.
that's correct.
So we did have a resident that took the time to really get into the report, had some questions. So there will be some follow-up on that very quickly to answer those questions. Some of those questions, according to Douglas, had to go to Davis and Floyd.
That's
for an
correct.
answer. So stay tuned for that. And of course, that we'll make sure that those questions will be addressed publicly also. All right, anything else? Okay. All right, miscellaneous business. Wanted to remind public that we were moving for the remainder of the year from a committee structure to a workshop structure or process. And so this will be our last real property committee meeting for at least the remainder of the year. So we've got that test in place until December 31st. And we will evaluate as a council how that works out for us. So there will be no need to set another committee meeting date. And with that,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.